Hello to all of our participants. My name is Olga. I'm an environmental scientist and an engager in the Ocean MOOC that you're all taking. So tonight we have a live session on sea turtle conservation with an amazingly geographically diverse panel of experts who present their expertise in turtle conservation and advise one of our engagers, Richmond, on how to deal with a turtle conservation issue he's facing in Ghana. Welcome to all of our experts. Richmond, over to you.
Hello from Ghana. So Ghana is home to some and that live in the leatherback, more, and the green turtle a lot here. We are facing some crisis right now. There's a port expansion project going on, and just the town next to this port, there's a town called Ada. We have some team there doing turtle monitoring. So apparently, since the turtle monitoring section started, we have recorded, or they have recorded 300 dead turtles already within this period. Most of the turtles have their back broken. This is to say that there's propeller activities going on, and this is likely linked to the port expansion project. Also, we came to Keta yesterday to do turtle monitoring session. So basically, our project is in Uningo, another town. And we came in here, we found 5 dead turtles. We couldn't scientifically these turtles, but looking at the plan, in turtle monitoring last night, we found 1 turtle, Olive Ridley, coming to nest. It was a wonderful scene. We went kayaking today and only to meet an island where we found a lot of turtleback shells. So many, about 15, 20, they were bent. So from what we have gathered, it's huge. This is a little different from the port situation. They have the poaching situation here, and they have the big nets. Boats where side twins is against the law. The biggest problem, which is affecting all these communities, is that is new so I don't know. We wish to get advice to go in terms of conservation of this species. They are very few over.
Richmond, thank you very much for your contribution. The thing is that the listeners who are listening to us right now should know that Richmond is driving. He did all he could to join our hangout session right now, and he's speaking to us from his car, driving through Ghana. And that is the reason why the connection is so bad and why Richmond is breaking up and we sometimes can barely hear him. Richmond is one of our engagers in the MOOC, and whatever information we couldn't hear right now, we will surely get during the remainder of the MOOC that we will spend including with him, and all the questions and clarifications that we would like to get, we can always ask him. So now over to our next participant, Meenakshi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Meenakshi, and I'm from India. And today I'll be talking about my master's thesis that was conducted in a small island in Malaysia. So to give you an idea of sea turtles in Malaysia, there are 4 sea turtle species, all of which are threatened. And this is because of a dramatic population decline, mainly because of several anthropogenic stressors. The stressors and the threats are so serious in Malaysia that the leatherback turtle has said to be locally extinct in Malaysian waters. And one of the major reasons for that is the overexploitation of their eggs. Sea turtle eggs are consumed in Malaysia both as a local delicacy as well as a traditional medicine. In addition to this, the locals depend on eggs for as an income source through licensed egg collection systems, and you can find eggs sold in mainland markets. Now coming to Redang Island, it's off the northeast coast of Peninsular Malaysia, and it's a very important island because it hosts the highest nesting density of green turtles. But also this population has seen several fluctuating population densities and has seen dramatic population declines. In Redang, there is one village which is located in the center. And in this village, most locals in the past were employed in the fishing sector. However, the tourism sector has grown rapidly over the years, leading to a complete shift in occupation. To give you an idea of sea turtle conservation in Redang, it's important to look at the various factors that come into play. In the 50s, the state government initiated a licensed egg collection system. This meant that only locals with a license had the right to collect eggs. But in the 80s, local conservationists found that the population was declining in a drastic rate. So in the 90s, various NGOs, such as the Sea Turtle Research Unit, was set up in the north of the island. And this NGO overlooked programs such as an egg buyback program, where it involved the NGO buying eggs back from licensed egg collectors for a certain price. After this, the same NGO started an awareness program. Now, this is a very unique program that involved educating young children of the age 11, and every child took a pledge to stop consuming turtle eggs after attending this program. Now, like fast forwarding to 2004, which is a very important year for turtles in Redang, 5 turtle sanctuaries were gazetted. This meant that the main nesting beaches were protected, and this ended the licensed egg collection system. And in 2013, like biologists noted that the population was showing positive growth. Now, coming to my study, we looked at the local perceptions on sea turtle egg consumption and also on conservation. So I conducted like around 73 interviews in the local households. And what we found was that turtle egg consumption has decreased on the island due to various factors, and now it making egg consumption a rare practice. So how did this happen really? So from the perceptions, we understood that locals had stopped consuming eggs mainly because of the protection status, which meant that there was decreased availability of eggs. Secondly, and most importantly, the awareness programs seem to have had a very positive influence on the perceptions and also the consumption behavior of the locals. So some of the respondents that I interviewed, around 80% of them still believe in the pledge that they took during the awareness program. And finally, another factor which influenced this decrease is the growth in alternative livelihoods. So in Redang, tourism has become a very important sector, leading to which locals now recognize that turtles are more important for tourism than other consumptive uses of turtles, such as egg consumption. So what can we learn from Redang? It's a small island, but it has a lot of lessons to learn from. For instance, the innovative awareness program should be a model that is implemented in other areas of turtle nesting, not just in Malaysia, but all around the world. Also, my study showed that like engaging with the community has really good impacts on the local sea turtle population, because involving the community makes them more aware of what sea turtle biology is about, what the threats they face, and also in finally leads to a change in consumption behavior. Finally, providing local communities with alternatives is very important for weaning their dependence on natural resources. However, it's important to note that alternatives such as tourism, for instance, should be closely examined, because this could be a growing threat to the current sea turtle population in Redang. Thank you for your attention. And now I'll hand it over to Olga.
Thank you very much, Meenakshi. That was a very interesting story. And now our next expert, Maya.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you, Meenakshi, for actually providing us all with such a detailed version of turtles. So I want to focus on my project that I was doing last year in the Cape Verde Islands, as you can hopefully see on your screen right now where they're situated. They're actually an island group of 7 individual islands on the west coast of Africa, very close to Senegal. And what I was doing there is I was working with the Turtle Foundation, an NGO that is existent since 2008. And as Meenakshi already told us about all the threats that turtles are facing, I was going to say, of course, turtles are facing some natural threats as well as human threats. I want to focus, as well as the foundation I was working with, on the human threats, as hunting and exploration, coastal development, fisheries, and tourism are very man-made threats that are very much impacting our turtle sea lives. So what I was going to focus on today is on sea turtle conservation and the project of the Turtle Foundation that is situated on the island of Boa Vista in the Cape Verde Islands. So despite the fact that sea turtles are already protected by the laws of the Cape Verde Islands, they are nonetheless exposed to numerous serious threats. They're being poached both at sea and on land due to the fact that coastal tourism development is increasing very much, and construction sites and buildings negatively affect the sea turtles' nesting behavior and nesting success as well. So the Cape Verde nesting population of the loggerhead sea turtles, which are the only ones that are around those kind of islands, is the 3rd largest population in the world after the popular nesting states of Oman and Southeast Florida. It is estimated up to about 90% of the nesting occurs of the island of Boa Vista, where the Turtle Foundation is situated. So in 2007, over 1,100 female turtles were slaughtered as they came ashore to the nesting sites on the Boa Vista Island. The number has been estimated to be over 35% of the nesting's female population. So that's where Turtle Foundation comes in hand. In 2008, responding to the brutal slaughtering of the loggerhead turtle females on Boa Vista beaches, Turtles Foundation sent personnel to the Boa Vista Island to establish a monitoring presence on several beaches, the main nesting beaches where the female turtles come out to nest. In 2007, over 600 turtles were killed on this one beach alone. In 2008, as a result of Turtle Foundation's beach protection project, only 60 turtles in total were identified as killed on the beach. So it was a difference between 600 turtles in 2007 to 60 turtles in 2008, representing a 90% reduction already in 1 year. So I had the opportunity to work with Turtle Foundation last year and do a 3-month internship that I absolved for sea turtle conservation. It is an NGO to protect the sea turtles and their habitats. So their vision is to create a future where sea turtles and their habitats are sustainably protected, healthy, and safe from threat and extinction and destruction. Their mission, therefore, is to contribute to sea turtle conservation at their own project sites by cooperating with local communities to create a future where both sea turtles and people can thrive. So yeah, I already explained the problem and the solution very briefly, but now I want to get into my personal experience, what I've learned and what my tasks were. So my tasks during my time there included morning patrol leadership, night patrol leadership, hatchery work, and I was also engaging on being a tour guide. The morning patrol leadership included species and track identification. So simply whenever the female turtle came out onto the beach and whenever what kind of activity she was engaging in, it had to be identified and documented. Therefore, we had a GPS, so we had to locate the sea turtle activity and write everything down in books that we further on put into computers to get some data, so we could compare the data from this year to past years. Furthermore, we engaged in egg chamber locating. This is very necessary for potential nest relocation, and that is what you have to do when the egg is very exposed to these threats. For example, if the nest is very much threatened to light pollution, it had to be relocated to a different site. Most of the times, we try to relocate to places in nature, so it was kind of not really changed, so the nest remained to be in its own and natural environment. But if that was not the case, we relocated to our man-made hatchery. These excavation and relocations are very important as I already mentioned, that the turtles lay their eggs in very unsuitable places. And then after the nest has hatched, we do a survey of the hatching success rate, which involves the nest excavation of the nest and the analysis of the left shells. Further on, I engaged in night patrol leadership, which also included the species identification, but furthermore, also engaging with the actual turtle itself. So we were tracking biometric data. We were petal and pit tagging the turtles. That meant we had a little pit tag that we kind of shot into their scale to see if the turtle comes back in the next years or in the next season. And that is what we really saw. Around 80% of the turtles that came up were already tagged from the years before, indicating that the turtles do come back to the sites in Boa Vista. Furthermore, we also engaged in GPS sampling, recording DNA samples that we did in cooperation with the University of London. And then furthermore, the nest relocations as well. Lastly, the hatchery work is a completely different kind of work that is definitely just nest monitoring that includes just checking on the potential hatch activity every 30 to 60 minutes. Bear in mind, every sort of activity happens during night because that is the time when the females come out on the beach to nest, And what other features we were doing in the hatchery work were including weighing and measuring of the hatchlings and also some potential nest excavations. Turtle Foundation believes in minimizing the human impact and otherwise on natural process. However, it is not always possible due to the anthropogenic factors. As a result, the hatchery that is located on one of the beaches does the work of hoping to promote for a greater success. That is, kind of what my work was all about in the islands of Boa Vista. It was very important, in my opinion, to contribute to sea turtle conservation as nearly all species of sea turtles are classified as endangered. Almost all of them are slaughtered for their eggs, for their meat, skin, shells, and sea turtles suffer overall from poaching and overexploitation. In general, they also just face the habitat destruction and accidental capture of fishing gear, which is probably a very, very big issue that the Sea Turtle Conservation Project in Ghana is facing. Climate change has also a very huge impact on turtle nesting sites, which is not the focus of the Turtle Foundation, but is obviously a very important factor to consider. In general, to wrap up, I would say the Turtle Foundation engages in mostly the activities that are that result through anthropogenic changes, as it is mostly trying to reduce the exploitation and overhunting and poaching from the men and the fishers and the locals on land, but also on sea. So yeah, if you have any further questions, please let them below, and then I would give my word back to Olga. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maya, and thank you for summarizing the dangers and the threats to sea turtles so well. And now I have the pleasure of giving over the word to our last, but by no means least, participant and expert, Donalda, an expert on coastal management, please.
Hello from the coast of Baltic Sea, Lithuania. It's a pleasure to share the experience, and so now I would like to take a look on how coastal and marine management is important for turtle conservation. Many things were already pointed out, but I will repeat them and try to look into the perspective of management. So there is no doubt that our sea turtles are amazing and our beautiful creatures. So they face many threats both in the water and on land. So these threats vary greatly through our world and not only in Ghana. So it's a big dangerous that sea turtles are relatively defenseless to human actions, and some of things most affect their numbers. It includes, for example, already mentioned bycatch. So every year, hundreds of thousands of sea turtles are accidentally caught up in the fishing nets, and they often die in the process. Also, other thing is overharvesting. There is still a huge demand for turtle, for example, egg soup, and also about already mentioned meat and shells and so on. As well, important thing is the climate change. And now we have lots of climate change regulations. So sea turtles are very sensitive to even the smallest of the changes in the water temperature. So it can have an effect in the breeding cycle as well. So in the light of this is why sea turtle conservation is so important, and something must have been done. So because of the decisions we can make now, there can be a long-term negative impacts in the future. So there is a need of sustainable management, I would say, and starting from our shoreline and coast expanding to the sea. All sea turtles are listed and endangered, as Maya already mentioned. They are marked by Convention on International Trade and Endangered Species, and thus trade of the sea turtles is prohibited. So within Ghana and also the United States, each occurring sea turtle species is listed as endangered. Many projects have been done as well, and there are still in progress, so all around the world. And from management side, there is a need for a public participation, and as well raising awareness about turtle conservation for coastal communities, also convincing coastal communities to change traditions and that are generous, all extend beyond simple legal actions or definitions. For example, in the place like Florida, there was a conservation efforts focused on reducing beach interfaces, for example, like beach toys or debris from the ocean, as well the chairs, lawn chairs. Efforts in Florida also consisted convincing beach owners to turn off the lights, for example, at night, because lights from inland can disorient and distract females from nesting properly. So as looking to the management solutions for conservation of turtles, I would like to split them into two. And from the first look, it will be the easy to take care solutions. So for example, where we don't need even without stepping foot into the ocean. We don't need to go there. So as every human can do this, cut out the plastic as well, use biodegradable cleaners, turn on the lights already, I mentioned, avoid nesting sites, and clean up the beach, remove beach furniture, umbrellas, and also be alert when we are boating. And the most important, like long-term solutions, which is not very easy to develop or implement, it would be investing in the policies and legislation designed to protect beaches and also sea turtles, not only while we will give positive ecological advantages, but also will benefit the tourism industry, also coastal land owners and the general public for generations to come. As doing so will require, I think, many stakeholders, which is very important, but such a cooperative planning, it is necessary to ensure a vibrant coastline along into our future. So impacts on sea turtle populations from fisheries and climate change and also habitat destruction have been quite widely discussed already, but I think it's still little known about these boat strikes and potential threats to sea turtles. So I think this issue is very important. And looking through research, and many nice studies have been done actually. Many risk assessment of impact of boats have been done. Also mapping the movements and distribution of satellites, tagged turtles, as well as the movement and distribution of tour boats. And talking about the management solutions, we can discuss that. What do you think? And maybe develop management measures to regulate marine traffic would be possible, or to do more monitoring, evaluation of those injuries of sea turtles, as well maybe increase management measures during the sea turtles nesting season, and develop management steps to move maybe marine traffic from the coast to minimize the number of boats and where the sea turtles are concentrated. So also many studies should take care of the use of also propellers, guard them to determine and check the equipment which should be used to minimize the damage of those turtles. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Donalda, for your perspective. And now I would just, it's a pity that we lost Richmond so early in the Hangout, and just to summarize and to introduce his work in a couple of words, because hopefully a discussion right now will follow among our experts who will give their own perspective onto how Richmond's issue can be tackled. So Richmond, our engager in the MOOC, he is a founder of an NGO called Plastic Punch in Ghana. Their primary task is to tackle plastic pollution. And you can read all that in the ocean engagement section because Plastic Punch is will be featured there. But apart from tackling plastic pollution and performing all kinds of educational and cleanup activities that they do, Richmond especially is very interested in turtle conservation because he has been noticing, of course, the large number of sea turtles that are nesting on the beaches in Ghana. And another thing that he has been noticing is the alarming amount of dead turtles they have been finding. He mentioned, again, it's a pity he was breaking up, but he mentioned 300 dead turtles they found on a beach. And some of them, some of the turtles they found choked on plastic or were entangled in plastics. Other turtles didn't have immediate signs as to where the death could have come from. And the issue that he is really worried about right now is the dead turtles with broken backs that they have been finding, and as Richmond mentioned, due to the port expansion. Richmond assumes that the cause of their death is propellers, boat propellers, and since he is not, he is very inspired about being able to do something about it, but not being an expert on conservation, he's really desperate for advice. What can be done in a situation like that, where you find alarming amounts of dead turtles with broken backs, and you really want to take some conservation measures? The question to all our experts: what do you think can be done to alleviate this?
Well, in my opinion, as I can say from myself, I would believe so that the Cape Verde Islands is facing a similar problem, as it's a very small country and a very low-income country, a developing country indeed. It is very hard to fund big projects to reduce to support sea turtle conservation. So in my belief and how Turtle Foundation is doing it is actually just spreading the knowledge, especially among the locals, which is very important so they understand the issue and the problem and they face it, they see it. Because if you show somebody what is actually happening, it will stay in their head more easily than if you just tell them. So definitely, in my opinion, it is a very important factor to spread the knowledge and the message along the locals. And of course, as if you can, to go higher, to go to the stakeholders, to governments. It is obviously a very, very important factor as well. But you need to start small. You need to start small to then be able to expand. But what I was also thinking, as the plastic issue was already mentioned, and the propellers, another issue that I was facing, or that I heard of, I wasn't really seeing it too much, to be honest. I only saw longline fisheries, in bycatch on the beaches, but I didn't see it happening, or I didn't see any marks of or traces on the actual turtle itself. But I know that longline fisheries are a very, very, very big problem that sea turtles are facing, that they're dying from as well. And I'm not too sure, to be honest, on why turtles are focusing or are getting entangled in them. I've heard also that it could be due to some lights that are attached to the nets and the lines. But yeah, that is another point that I want to make sure that I want to ask Donalda. Maybe you know further implementations or further tasks on how this could be challenged.
I agree with Maya. Like, starting small is really important. And from the case in Malaysia, it's a very small island, but engaging with them for a long period over like 25 years has resulted in them understanding the biology of sea turtles and understanding that only maybe 1 out of 1,000 eggs make it to adulthood, and why it's important to watch out for turtles when they drive their boats towards the ports around and the jetties. But still, now that tourism is increasing in this island, like there is more boat traffic, and also the sea turtle tourism, like snorkeling with sea turtles, is a big attraction now. And a lot of the boats end up coming too close to the turtles. So I feel like awareness programs should be tailored to based on the threats. Like, for instance, in the focus for all these years was sea turtle egg consumption, but now it should shift towards boat propellers and plastic and more contemporary threats that is increasing right now. So like Maya said, I think awareness is like absolutely necessary in these regions. Yeah, and I would like to get Donalda's take on management as well.
So yeah, I would like to talk about like management steps. Everything starts actually with the planning. So we need to involve as well, like stakeholders, as I mentioned. The coastal communities is very important, and especially I see in the Ghana case, and as well fishermen. And I think everything, I would also agree with Maya that it's important to raise awareness. But to raise awareness, it's like just starting point. Because if we look into the sea and like fishermen goes with the boats, and we need to see and regulate this marine traffic by involving management and creating laws into it. and do monitoring to see like where turtles are nesting, and because we need to know what are like routes of the marine, this traffic marine boats. So I think it's most important to increase these management measures and to see where those boats are going and how to control them. Because Richmond maybe can answer, like, is there any law in Ghana? Maybe it would help us to answer this question, because I'm not very aware about the laws in the place. Thank you.
Thank you for your perspective, Donalda. Thank you, everyone. We'll make sure to carry on this dialogue with Richmond after this hangout. So we will by all means find out what the law in Ghana on this is. So we have had a couple of questions from our participants, and Maya, you might be interested in the fact that one of our participants is currently working with the Turtle Foundations in Boa Vista, Cape Verde. So something for you. A question that we also got was whether there is any program involving local communities in the area of conservation that employs local communities, basically, apart from tourism. So the question to you as experts, whether you know of any program like that.
Yes, actually in India, there's a mass nesting site of olive ridleys. And because every year over like 100,000 turtles come on one stretch of a beach to nest, it's important to get the numbers of turtles that come in every year. And this can't be done single-handedly by a few individuals. So what this organization in India did, they're called Dakshin Foundation. All their employees that are field staff are all from the local village, and over the years they have educated them about monitoring practices, and so much so that now they don't really have to rely on training scientists, because the locals themselves are very well read about sea turtle biology and monitoring, that they actually educate the local volunteers or like interns who come into the foundation. So I think it's more of a circular, it's gone over generations and knowledge is transferred within that community, but also they are teaching other volunteers from around the world. So that's one success story from India.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi, for that.
Yeah.
Maya, Donalda, do you have anything else to add to that?
I myself, I'm not very the expertise in that topic, I would say. I'm very excited, though, that we have one engager here that is participating in the Turtle Foundation right now. And I know that further along the course, the focus will at some point be on plastic pollution. So I don't really want to address it too much here right now. But I just want to emphasize I find it very interesting whenever you talk to people about turtle conservation, the first thing that usually pops into their head is the straw in a turtle's nose. And I completely agree to that. And yes, it's a great idea to have the invention of biodegradable straws, but biodegradable straws also don't biodegrade after a day. So if it's on the beach, it could be that at that night, the sea turtle comes out and the straw could be a threat to them. So I do agree. And also not only engaging or focusing on the things that you could do as a person, focusing on plastic, I want to put the emphasis on how you should actually behave on the beach. As for example, I know it is very popular to drive quads on beaches or in dunes. That's a very popular attraction to do right now in these days. But as sea turtle nests are only 60 centimeters deep into the sand, that is not very deep, and the sand is very soft. So they very much will destroy the nest. So I find it very sad, and I think it is very important actually to educate people, especially when you're on holidays and when you're laying on the beach and your beach activities involve on the beach and building sandcastles or dragging around beach wear and including chairs and tables and what's so on. I think it is very important to empathize on these opinions, on these tasks that you could do as a person while you're on vacation, or just spread the awareness to others that you could also do these activities, as well as at night, as the sea turtles are very active at night. They come out to nest at night, that you should not be walking around on the beaches during those times, that you should respect the signs that are on the beaches, and that you should definitely turn off your white lights, as sea turtles are attracted to white lights and they will go and follow the white lights. So yeah, that was something that I really wanted to focus on, and that was a message that I wanted to get out, because I find it quite interesting that nowadays the focus or the connection between endangered sea animals is usually connected immediately to plastic. So yeah, I would maybe want to know what you other, Donalda and Menashke, what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I think like the focus, like you said, is moving towards plastic pollution. And like you said, there are other threats also that need to be given emphasis. I think the reason why plastic is given so much weightage is because people associate it with it more easily. But yeah, definitely the other threats need to be highlighted now. And we need to think collectively about like what solutions we have based on different cases, but also learn from other studies around the world. Yeah, and I think I'd like to end with that, with the positive note that there is hope and that we can work on turtle conservation if we decide to work collectively on awareness, especially.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi, for the positive note. I think it is super important in the world we live in. So our time is running out. Time is running fast, unfortunately. Thank you so much to our wonderful experts and our wonderful participants who shared a whole suite of very useful and interesting information, and found the time on a Sunday night to share their knowledge with us. We will make sure that we pass all of these recommendations and tips to Richmond, and that he gets to listen to them and act on them. So we're saying goodbye for now. There are no more questions. Thanks a lot once again to our dear participants who were quite active. And saying goodbye for now, looking forward to our next sessions, and see you very soon. Thank you, everyone.